ángulo BOE mide 60 grados.
60 grados. ¿Así sí están de acuerdo? ¿Así sí están de acuerdo? ¿Así sí tienen respuesta diferente? Ok, gracias, Verónica. El que sigue.
Okay.
Ángulo DOF mide 44 grados.
Ángulo DOE 30 grados.
In our class, we do not have English speakers and Spanish speakers. We have 26 bilingual learners who have been bilingual learners for, if they've been in the program since kindergarten, for 7 years.
Quiero que pongan las medidas de cada ángulo y luego vamos a hacer algo con esas medidas. ¿Ok?
This program is a two-way language immersion program, and we teach English and Spanish, but we teach language through content areas. All morning is in Spanish and all afternoon is in English, and we don't mix the languages.
Okay.
Sixth grade is all about reaching for a higher sophistication. So when we are studying any unit of study, I always know that maybe half of my students are working in a language that is not their strength. So because of that, we do a lot of activities. We're presenting the same information in many different ways. We're building a base and then we're working up with that base. So when we get to the point where they are expected to achieve or present or really think on those higher levels of thinking, they can do it because we've done all this work down here building it up to it.
Aquí tengo un espejo en el rayo OA. Y luego tengo el otro espejo en el rayo OH. Y luego lo veo. Cuentan cuántas estrellas ven.
Mira, 1, 2, 3.
Todavía no están.
Yo nomás miro 3.
Yo miro 5.
Yo veo 3. 1, 2. No hay una acá. Mira, ven. No, no hay una. No, nomás es 3. Mira, trátalo con estos.
Es lo mismo.
3.
Ok.
Yo tengo.
Ok, agáchate y esto es para acá. Para acá.
Oh, 5.
Te dije.
1, 2.
Students working together really build and help each other get to a higher level as far as sophistication of language.
La cosa cambia cuando pones más chiquitas. Es igual que cuando la volteas.
Primero es uno y luego se va aumentando.
Aumentando, porque lo más cerquitas que se...
If you listen to discussions going on in the class, you can check a student for comprehension. I can ask them a question and they can answer me, and I know they understood what I was talking about, but maybe they said it in a real simplified version. And so we get answers from different people. So maybe I ask this student and they tell me an answer, but it's kind of simple language. I ask this student, they may say the same exact answer, but in a little bit more sophisticated language. So I repeat that language back to them.
Cuando los espejos están más cerca, puede ver más estrellas.
Ok, y mientras están cercando más los espejos, ¿qué está pasando al ángulo?
Está viendo más, está...
¿Más chico o más
sí,
grande?
más chico.
El ángulo es más chico.
Que mientras el ángulo disminuye,
Mientras el ángulo disminuye,
más estrellas se miran.
más estrellas se miran. ¿Ok? Otro.
Cuando más se juntaban los espejos, más estrellas puedes ver.
Estás diciendo que mientras más se juntan los espejos, piensen en los ángulos. Cuando se están juntando los espejos, ¿qué está pasando a los ángulos?
Los ángulos están siendo más chicos.
Más chicos. Muy bien, se están disminuyendo, ¿verdad?
In my delivery to the classroom, you will never hear me translate to a student. I will explain it 50 million different ways using every way I can in Spanish, but never will I translate. And what we do in learning anything is we learn all of the needed vocabulary as we're going along. So they have this big bank of vocabulary that they can use to be able to achieve the lesson for the day. So always in our planning, our objectives are for whatever the subject is, in this case math and geometry and angles and measuring angles and how that affects images and reflection. But our objective is also the vocabulary that's needed, the linguistic markers that they need in this lesson.
Nicole, ¿qué es lo que vieron ustedes?
Cuando nada más pones un espejo puedes ver simetría.
Simetría. ¿Y qué es simetría? ¿Qué es simetría? Juan Miguel, ¿qué es simetría?
Algo idéntico a la otra cosa.
Muy bien. Otros comentarios?
I always think about the style of learners we have in the class. We've learned that many people learn in different ways. And so I feel the more ways I can present information, if it's visual, if it's auditory, if it's hands-on, then I'm going to be including more of the different kinds of learners. So many of our activities start with one type and finish in another type of presentation. We use a lot of hands-on activities. For instance, in geometry, the students were making a kaleidoscope. And so we're taking the information that we've been studying about angles and measurement and reflections and symmetry, and we're putting it into an activity that they need that information to complete. And it's something that's maybe fun, maybe interesting. It gets them more motivated and exciting about what they're doing.
And I want you to just take some time and observe anything you can look at in this poster. Observe the colors, observe the people.
What we did today was it was a teacher-directed activity geared at getting the students to write, and not only writing but enriching their writing. So we started out as the whole class using a bigger picture that we looked at, we described, we got ideas from.
Okay, tell me what you see.
Looks like it's in a, sort of a rock house.
Looks like a rock house. Okay, what else?
Or the pottery.
Pottery. Lots of pottery.
Some of the colors bright out, make the picture bright.
Okay, so the colors make the picture very bright. Okay? What else?
There's a drum by the old man that's painting.
And instead of saying, oh, what can we say? There's a drum near the elderly man. Jesus, last one.
Yeah, there's a dream catcher there.
Oh, there's a dream catcher. Good.
If I had told them, look, here's a window, look, this is a man, I would have gotten maybe 5 things, whereas with the whole class looking at it, we got 20 things. The resource of those students is much more valuable than anything that I can present to them. So just first the visual and what is it we see. And then I took them to a focus and I asked them, picture yourself as one of these people.
What are you doing? What are you thinking at this time? What do you feel? What sounds do you hear? What do you smell?
So I'm taking them out of their seats and I'm putting them into the picture. So they're not looking at it now they're a part of it.
Describe for me what you're seeing. You are the elderly man. It's hard to see.
Lots of things around me.
Lots of things around you, like what? Describe for me what's around you.
Water.
Water.
Carpets on the wall.
Carpets on the wall. Okay. What's in your hands right in front of your eyes?
A pot.
This pot. And what about this pot? What colors do you see?
Brown.
How does it feel in your hands?
Dirty.
It feels dirty, so kind of like dusty. Jesus, take it from there.
Wind
You hear the wind.
blowing against the windowsill.
Wow. Excuse me? With sand. So there's some sand because it's windy. The sand is hitting.
I smell a lot of clay and a lot of paints.
Okay, Viri.
The thing that I hear is a rattlesnake.
And what do the rattlesnakes sound like?
Like rice in a cup, shaking it.
Like rice? Wow. We're going to write right now a descriptive paragraph. And we're going to write it in first person. What does that mean? Mariela, we're going to write it in first person.
Like me.
Like me and I.
The
Exactly.
hardest thing of writing is figuring out what you're going to write about. So here we have gone through this whole process where they have so much to write about that the hard thing is figuring out what am I not going to write about.
So how can we write what Pam's saying? She's saying they're happy that even though they're elderly, they can still scan the lines and make a straight line.
I'm happy that I can still control my hands. I'm happy I still have the ability to do the straight lines.
Okay. I'm happy I can, now you changed it a little bit, but that's good. I'm happy that I still have the ability.
So we write the paragraph the first time. And most of the kids, what they want to do is they're in a hurry and they write it the first time and then they're finished. So my objective was I wanted them to see how writing, you start it, but then you can enrich it. So we picked out places in the story that we could add adjectives, And then we got the kids to think about different adjectives that would fit there.
Skinny tip. I hear it's a little brush. I hear the skinny tip. What are these rabbits like? Laura. Outside, I hear the white.
Jumpy. Fluffy.
Tell me about these children.
The playful children.
Okay. What kind of hawks?
The noisy black hawks.
Okay, the noisy black hawks. Anything else?
The brown dogs.
And this is my objective in showing them how just adding a few extra words in it adds a whole different description, a much more depth to their writing, and that it's not a hard thing to do. And their success in doing it and seeing it when it's complete, you can see in their faces that they feel they're successful in it.
Loud brown dogs barking. Inside I hear the fine tip of the brush as I stroke against my dirty and dusty pottery. I'm thinking how lucky I am to have such a nice, wonderful, helpful, talented partner to help me make my big, beautiful pottery. I know I'm not alone.
Yeah. Good job, Eden. Good job.
This is a grammar lesson in a way. You have to know what an adjective is to be able to add it, but there's a reason for doing it. It's not an independent sentence that you're saying pick out the adjectives and circle them. It's something that they're using to create something that makes it more beautiful.
We looked at one picture together as a class, and guess what? I have pictures. A picture for each student. And I'm going to hand them out, and we're going to go through kind of the same process, a little bit different.
Then we did a round robin where now we have the benefit of looking at something from fresh eyes, getting the advantage of other people's knowledge, other people's language skills. And we added adjectives and made it more interesting just as we did as a class. It always amazes me when I sit down and plan a lesson, I visualize in my own mind how I think the lesson will go. It never goes that way because always the students take it so much farther than I ever imagined. So you set up lessons that have open ends to it. And for those learners who are at a lower level of sophistication, all of this information that they're getting is helping them build up to a higher level of sophistication. For those native English speakers, they're not being at all stunted in their growth. They're being able to express themselves to the highest level of their sophistication. And as a group, it brings us all up.
I was sweaty and I smelled bad. The public cheered and applauded with what is this saying?
And applause with
Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Part of our daily routine is the kids in the very beginning of the morning write in their journal, and then 5 kids each day share their journal. So throughout a week, everyone in the class has shared one journal entry to the class.
En el día de Navidad voy a abrir los regalos en la noche porque mi mamá dice que así se acostumbraba ella donde viene mi mamá. Pero ella y yo le voy a agarrar de día a todos mis parientes regalos y también a alguien que le tengo que dar de la clase. Pero no puedo decir su nombre porque luego no va a ser una sorpresa. Y luego yo pienso que les va a gustar mucho porque va a ser un regalo especial. ¿Este año?
¿Qué vas a agarrar para tu mamá para Navidad?
Le agarré como una necklace, una collar.
Hoy va a ser en cámara. Yo me gusta hacer en cámara porque es divertido. Muchas personas pueden ver a su cara y lo que está haciendo. Puede ser famoso o más conocido. Yo me gusta tener muchas personas viendo a mí. Ser en cámara hace nervioso sola las primeras veces y después de eso es divertido. Las cámaras son interesantes. ¿Preguntas?
¿Quieres ser una persona que use la cámara?
En estos días antes de las vacaciones parece que todo tiene que estar terminado muy rápido. Para empezar,
They stand up and they talk to the class, they have the whole class's attention, and they answer questions. There's interaction going on there. The purpose is communication and celebrating what we do know. So we don't focus on our errors at that point, but at that time also is a very good opportunity for me to listen to what they're saying, listen to the errors that they're making individually. So each week I hear each student say maybe a minute or 2 minutes of just them speaking, and the grammar paragraph that the kids were working on, that comes from errors in their writing and errors in their speech that I'm listening to, that I hear over and over again, that I know we need to focus on.
El P en Pablo necesito hacer mayúscula.
Okay.
Daniel.
En Julio tiene que ser mayúscula la J.
Muy bien.
La J de Juan necesita ser mayúscula.
Tienes que poner un punto seguido después de Juan.
I want to know a little bit about what we've read so far. Anything about...
One of the techniques I use in literature for different reasons is called playback theater, and it's a process I take the kids through, thinking about, writing about, visualizing, and then enacting a part of the story that for some reason stuck in their mind.
I want you to think about one of the things that happened in Wrinkle in Time that really has stuck in your mind. And I want you to write about that.
So they got their ideas out on paper, then they were able to verbalize their ideas, and a lot of times it develops further in talking about it.
And Charles Wallace kicked him in the leg because he was hypnotizing him.
What person would you be in that part? I'm Charles Wallace.
Why did you pick him? Because I like little kids. How did you feel when you wrote this? I felt like I wanted to fly because that horse has wings, so I felt like I wanted to fly and run.
And in that scene, I want you to see, who are you?
Then I had them focus on one character, and I had them become that character. Then we choose one person to come up and relate a personal story as them being a character in the book.
Cameras on.
And so they tell their story, and other kids in the class listen, and they act out the story that they heard.
Yeah, they're all playing in rhythm.
Look, that kid over there looks clumsier than the others. The kid over there looks clumsier than the others. All the other kids are doing everything in the same
Why does he keep dropping the ball?
He left his ball.
We need to find out more information. So.
Okay, fine.
It's a way of giving them ownership of literature. So literature is not just something that I have to do because it's a sign. I become a part of the literature. They're owning it. So from there grows a greater appreciation of what their learning is, and a greater understanding or comprehension of what is the story about and what's going, all of the sub-themes that are going on in the story.
This word community, you guys, I know that you studied that in science with Mrs. Shaw too. What is a community?
It's where people work together to accomplish different things.
Okay, and what are some examples of community?
San Jose is a community.
Okay, so the city of San Jose is a community?
The world.
The world community. So all the people involved in the whole big giant world also can be one community.
In our winter program this year, the theme was New Beginnings and Community. So we chose historical and cultural events throughout history that were new beginnings in communities. And one of the people that we focused on was Cesar Chavez. Many of the kids know about Cesar Chavez. Many of them have studied him. And for many of them, it's a very personal issue related to their own specific culture and their own specific historical background as a people.
He fought for the rights of the United Farm Workers.
And who were they?
They were the people who worked out in the fields and stuff.
Okay, they worked in the fields, and why did he feel he needed to fight for their rights?
They didn't have much rights, and they threw pesticides on the fields when they were working, and that was very bad for them.
Okay, Andy?
They were abusing them.
In what way?
By not feeding them enough. They were making them work too long. They didn't give them enough breaks.
They didn't give them enough money for all the work they did.
I'm going to give you a situation, and you tell me what would have happened at that time. Okay, Roberto, you work on my farm. You worked for 10 hours today, and I told you that I was going to give you $3 an hour. So how much money do I owe you? You work for 10 hours? $30. $30. You come up to me for your pay, and I say, here's $10. So are you going to get mad?
Yeah.
Okay, but you know what? I don't care if you get mad, because if you don't want to work for me, that's no problem. You can leave, and I'm going to get Holly to work for me.
We're constantly building a base. We're scaffolding the kids from the basic information, but then where's that basic information going to lead us to? You can't just stop there. So they know the information, they know the dates, they know the people, they know the names, they know the vocabulary, and then we ask them more about it and more about it and more about it. So they're analyzing it, they're evaluating that, they're giving their opinions about it.
You could go to government or something.
What if you came from Mexico and you don't have no papers? How could you go to the government?
What would happen if you went to the government to sue me, Ursula?
They take him back to Mexico.
They would take him back to Mexico.
You could have got other farmers and made them and asked them to go on strike.
And who did that?
Cesar Chavez.
Cesar Chavez.
It's another way that we can validate their own personal experiences, their family experiences, and their culture.
Okay. Wow.
In 6th grade, our curriculum is Ancient Civilizations, and what I'm always trying to do is think of how I can bring it to life for the kids, because you're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, and what does it mean to them. And also, I always like to think of a culminating unit project so that all of the information that we're learning up until that point has a purpose. For instance, in this one, it was our Egyptian Museum. We did some background investigation, some general knowledge about ancient Egypt. And while they're going along, I'm telling them, think of those areas that really interest you. And they write down their first, second, third, and fourth choices and why they want those choices. Then all the kids turn it into me, and I divide them up into groups. Then the next step was we went to the Egyptian Museum here in San Jose, and the kids had specific goals. They already knew their theme, and they knew they were going to be making a project in our classroom museum. Also, what they were doing was working with their partner to plan.
Del museo, las preguntas que ustedes escribieron sobre lo que quieren encontrar sobre su tema de estudio. ¿Ok? 5 minutos tienen.
Primero tenemos que buscar dónde y cómo hacían el papel y por qué duraban tanto para poder escribir.
¿Cuánto duraban para hacer una tumba? ¿Por qué los que morían en la arena se quedaban mejor preservados? ¿Por qué le dejaban el corazón al egipcio?
¿Por qué no podían las mujeres ser reyes?
I look for the strengths in each student, and I try to match them up with those students who have strengths that complement their strengths. I think about who are the stronger speakers in those languages, and if there's a student that is not as strong, I'll group them with a student who is strong.
Ok, lo construyeron en mucho tiempo porque eran muy grandes y 100,000 personas lo hicieron. ¿Y por qué lo hicieron?
As we went through the tour, everyone was listening to the general information, but then they had time to go and get information on their specific themes.
Can anybody describe to me what an archaeologist says?
Montañas arriba. Había montañas.
They were looking at how the museum presented information, some of the models that the museum had. They were drawing pictures of what they wanted to do. They were labeling specific pieces, and they were writing down a list of materials that they thought they would need to complete their project. My philosophy is I'm going to give them the resources and the materials. I'm going to give them the vocabulary they do and need and the base work, but they're going to work for it themselves. And I'm going to guide them along that process. But when they get there, they're the ones who learned it because they're the ones who went through the whole process of finding it out. And then I'm going to give them something at the end, like our Egyptian Museum, that they can really showcase what it was that they knew. The goal for the students was to create this museum. It gives them a reason, kind of a motivating reason for learning, especially in a language program. If you are stronger in English, but this is in Spanish, well, if you just have to know the information to write an answer on a test, maybe it's not as motivating, but if you know you're going to be talking to people about it, you need to know that vocabulary. And so it motivates you to have these conversations when you're working on the project in Spanish because you're going to be delivering the information in Spanish.
¿Qué más usaban? Ya la sal, ya. Ropa que se mire como una egipcia, como un vestido.
materiales que vamos a necesitar para hacerlo es
I really try to plan projects where every single person is important. In these projects for ancient Egypt, every single person had a part, and every single person had to complete that part for the museum to happen. It's an equalizing factor. And what you find is in the beginning of the year where 1 or 2 students shine, throughout the year everybody had that time where they got to shine. For me as a teacher, the subject is almost secondary because what I really love are the students. And I love motivating the students.
Hola, yo soy Sofía y esta es Felicia y este mes pasado estuvimos estudiando sobre los dioses y diosas y la religión. Aprendimos que los egipcios tenían muchas creencias diferentes que los que tenemos hoy en día.
Los egipcios creían que los dioses usaron esto para pesar el corazón contra una pluma.
Esta misma receta fue encontrada en 1799 por unos soldados.
Pueden encontrar esto aquí al noreste de África. En estos tiempos sus gatos eran como estatuas. Y luego aquí están 2 egipcios. Y cuando la escritura tenía un círculo alrededor, significa que había, que era un nombre.
¿Se ponían mucho maquillaje?
Nomás alrededor de los ojos.
¿Nomás alrededor de los ojos? ¿Porque significaba algo especial?
Ya decían que era belleza y para protegerlos de la arena.
El Nilo recorre 4.332 millas hasta el norte porque recorre desde el Alto Egipto porque tiene muchas montañas y hasta el Bajo Egipto porque es muy plano.
I feel that if you feel good in a place, then you do good. So how can I set an environment where they will feel good being here? Well, they will want to be here every day for 10 months and wake up in the morning and think, wow, I get to go to school. And be excited about what they're doing. Be excited about the achievements they make. When their parents come for the conferences and they can show them, look at this project I did. And their parents are saying, wow, you did this? And it's a big project. You know, it's a lot. It took a lot of work, and they know it took a lot of work, so it raises their self-esteem. It's them saying things like, God, we do so much work, but it was fun.